Hello, welcome back to the Sleuth Intuition channel. Let's go ahead and get a mic check. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay. Good to see you, Christine, She Warrior. Hopefully you can hear me. Today we're going to dive into Abby and Libby's case. This really is going to be a review of the murder sheets interview of Detective Vito. And just trying to shake the whole Anthony Shots angle and trying to get rid of Keegan Klein as a viable third-party suspect or secondary suspect. She Warrior, Mustang, Jinx, what up? Rescue All Dogs. What's going on, Cheeks? So, some of the interesting things that stood out to me during the interview were a lot of little bits and pieces of information that we weren't really sure if it was fact or not. You know, we were just dependent on the credibility of the murder sheet, things like the Marathon gas station. So, we now know that it is a fact that Keegan Klein searched the Marathon gas station in Delphi on that day. That is a fact. The gas station that's right up the street from Richard Allen. Keegan Klein was the reason that they searched the Wabash River. They were looking for a phone and a knife. Anthony Shots was, in fact, talking to Libby the night before the murders and the morning of, all on Snapchat, and those conversations were unrecoverable. They found TK's red Jeep, who it was with its new owner, and CSI processed it. Nothing was found. What's up, Jill Moser? Melissa Wildcard, welcome in, everybody. Shane, good to see you. Phil Bond, Timmy, and no one. Okay, before we do anything, something else that Detective Vito said was that Keegan Klein had no credibility with him whatsoever. That he just really didn't stop lying. Every interaction that they had was filled with lies. Give me a minute. Sorry, somebody's at the door, so the dogs are going crazy. So before we do anything, I think we should ask ourselves, is Keegan Klein's alibi rock solid? And that's the poll question. If you guys could please participate in the poll. It's yes or no, no in between. Does he have a valid, rock solid alibi? Says, I was at my house. They have my GPS locations and everything. Vito said that Keegan Klein, through the forensics on his phone, he was at his house, like actively. Is he actively at his house, or is somebody actively at his house on his phone? Does that information eliminate him as a suspect? So I think we should start there before we go anywhere else. Sparky, what's up? Always good to see you, Phil. Who'd I miss? Brown Eyed Girl, what up? Don Spain. Well, have a good meeting. Cheers. Good to see you, Don. Think this was during an interview between Keegan Klein and Barbara McDonald. I think she asked him, Anthony Schatz was messaging Libby, trying to meet her. And you're saying that was not you? He says, no, 100% no. They have my GPS the whole day. And how do they have your GPS for the whole day? From your phone? Well, from my phone, yeah. Okay. They can. I don't know how they do it, but yeah. And he's shown me that day all my GPS locations. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I get it. That's what his phone was doing. If your phone is doing something, does that necessarily mean that's what you're doing? Exactly, She Warrior. So before we go any further into any of this new information or any of this verified information, let's vote on this. Does Keegan Klein have a solid alibi? If he does, then let's drop it. Let's see. You have been talking about it with other girls that knew Libby. You have been searching it before you went to Vegas. And then you tell investigators, I was with my dad all day. I went to grandma and grandpa's at noon. So apparently, in this alternate universe, this theory, this hypothetical theory that we're going to lay out here, that's where they went to burn all of the clothing. So Richard Allen would be with them at this point in time. And they did serve a search warrant at the grandparents' home. They dug up the fire pit. They searched the home. They went and got Tony Klein's red Jeep from its new owner. CSI processed it. I mean, this isn't just like some weird theory that I can't let go. I mean, I believe that they're just as pissed that they were unable to make the connection. I was with my dad all day. We went to grandma and grandpa's at noon. And the crazy thing about them saying they went there at noon, I believe that's when they left Peru. I believe they left and all met up around noon. You know, between 11 and noon. Kagan says, no, I told them I didn't know what. I mean, I don't ever leave. So, like, yeah, I'm probably out at his house, really. But I mean, I'm telling again, I don't remember everything I did. Like, I told them I would go and see my grandma and grandpa like a lot. You told them a few days after this happened, you know, you were with your dad all day. 12 to 2 or 12 to 3. So think about that. 12 to 3, like that's the actual he's telling investigators like I know when these murders happened between 12 and 3. I know that that's when the killers were out there. But I have an alibi between 12 and 3. So he's very specific about his timeline. All right, let's go check on the poll. All right, the question is KK's alibi rock solid? We only have 32 votes and there's about 60 people watching. We're going to close that down in about a minute. Because if his alibi is rock solid, we're not going to waste our time. What's the point? I think we would have to break the alibi if we're doing anything. That would be the next step. attempting to break the alibi, which we should do anyway, right? So if we know for a fact, this makes it even more interesting when it comes to the security footage from the Marathon gas station and how the FBI dropped the ball on that big time. All of a sudden, the FBI, they touch it and it just melts. Useless. The one piece of information that would have tied Keegan Klein and potentially Richard Allen vanishes. Very strange. Margaret and Ray. In my opinion, KK had at the very least passed info about Libby onto Richard Allen. Possibly. Also, they said another thing that bothered them was it was the GP. It was a combination of things that kind of did it for Vito. It sounds like when it comes to Keegan Klein and his involvement or connection. Well, three things actually. He said Keegan Klein has an alibi based off his digital forensics off his phone and his GPS. Shows his phone being active at his Canal Street address. So that right there is going to be hard to get around in court, right? And then at number 2, he stated that. All right, hold on, let me read this real quick. Give me 1 second, guys. I got to respond to this text real quick. Okay, where were we? So Keegan has an alibi. It is a fact that he actually did search the Marathon gas station. So what that tells me is that they were, if they're connected to Richard Allen, that's where they were meeting, right? Let's meet me at Marathon gas station. Don't follow me to my house. Like I'll meet you at Marathon gas station. Yeah, but Vito said he couldn't verify anything. He met up with everybody he could that knew either one of them, Richard Allen, the people that knew him in Mexico, the people that knew Tony Klein and Keegan Klein in Peru. He said, yeah, we couldn't find anything. But this is the way I see it playing out. The reason they can't find a connection, because it's kind of like an old friend of yours, right? Like, for instance, let me give you an example that happened to me. So I had a really good friend when we were in high school, and maybe a year or two after high school. We were best friends. We hung out, us and a couple other people. And then this person moved away. They were gone. I didn't see him. 20 years, go by, and then boom, I get this random message or phone call or text. Can't remember what it was. Hey, I'm in town. Let's get together. So I get together with this friend that I hadn't seen in forever, since we were, 18. And we go out and we have a rager of a time, get shit faced, have one of the worst hangovers, and then he's gone. I think that if there's a relationship between the Kleins, TK specifically, and Richard Allen, it's something like that, where they were friends when they were young. Richard Allen joins the army, gets married. He doesn't have time for any of that. He goes about his life. And then in 2016, when his brother-in-law passes away, he has to start visiting Peru. So now that he's in Peru, and remember, Richard Allen was known as a very quiet person. So he's not very sociable. But if he was friends with TK, maybe for whatever reason they reconnected. Anthony Shots was created in July of 2016. Richard Allen began going to Peru in September of 2016. So that's pretty close. February 3rd is when Libby is introduced to Anthony Shots. February 12th, we now know through the interview with Detective Vito that Abby and Libby were up late talking with Anthony Shots on Snapchat. And then even on the 13th. And then we have, during the interview with Keegan Klein, him stating, or somebody using the Anthony Shots account stating, hey, I was supposed to meet her there that day, but she never showed up. So you're telling me we're going to throw that all out the window because Vito couldn't find any family members or old friends that could connect them. And also somebody was using Keegan Klein's phone and it was actively being used during the time of the crime. Is that enough to disqualify the Keegan Klein angle? All right, 88% of you agree with me that KK's alibi is not rock solid. So this is going to be a super quick video. I want to get your opinion on those items there. Specifically, the Marathon gas station. That is a fact. Keegan Klein was looking up the gas station in Delphi on February 13th. So he's looking up the gas station in Delphi. It's right around the corner from Richard Allen's home. He's talking to Abby and Libby, saying that he's supposed to meet them there. He's confessed to the crime. I think that Keegan Klein is tied into this whole lost tip narrative. I think that he gave up Richard Allen. Now, this is a huge conspiracy theory. There's no fact, this isn't based in, this is La La Land shit. So Keegan Klein gives them Richard Allen's name, right? But the way that it was provided cannot be used in a court of law. It was obtained, let's say, illegally or something like that. So now they have their killer because of Keegan Klein. And they find the name Richard Allen in the Orion system, but they see that it's been attached to Whiteman and also marked as cleared. I think they could have fabricated the tip. Maybe it was never lost. So maybe it was never lost. Think about it. There's nothing new. In order for them to get that search warrant, they would need something new, right? They didn't give Judge Diener anything new. So maybe that's the conspiracy. Maybe that's the corruption that everybody's sensing. They're like, okay, we know who the killer is, but we can't really tell the world how we found out. What do we do now? Because we don't have anything new. We apparently the guy called the tip line and we interviewed him and we did nothing about it. We have nothing new. What are we going to bring the judge to get a search warrant? Well, let's just act like we lost the tip. And then if we lost the tip, it's like, oh my gosh, look what we found. So it's like, it's not like we're going backwards. It's like, this is something new, Like, oh my God, we've investigated and we overlooked this tip. Now give us the search warrant. Yikes, Miss Doglover. Be careful out there. Jinx says, pretty sure Vito said during the pretrial hearings at the end of July that KK's electronic data showed he was at his father's residence. Let me go get. No, that's true. That's what Vito said in the interview with the murder sheet. He said that's why he didn't really he stopped looking at him. He said because of his phone and because every time he spoke with him, he was lying. He couldn't stop lying. They couldn't find a connection between the Kleins and Richard Allen. But most importantly, his phone, it's not like it was just sitting there. You know, the way that Vito puts it is it's actively, engaging with applications and moving around. So if Keegan Klein is involved and he knows Richard Allen and he used his phone as his alibi, that means that somebody had to have been on his phone at the Canal Street address. If they can find out who that person is, might break this thing wide open. Who was that? Somebody was using his phone. If it's not Keegan, who is it? Somebody's on, and I even think they were looking at porn, according to Keegan Klein's transcripts. What's up, Roy? It says something is off. Absolutely. All right, this will be our 5-minute warning. Let me know what you guys think about all this. If you're part of the replay crew, leave me a comment. Let me know. Let me know what you think. That sounds good. Cheek says the only credible alibi for me would be if there was a non-objective witness or video evidence. This piece of shit has already admitted to sharing his accounts with people. Yeah, what about the 8 a.m. log in, log out? What if Keegan is telling a half truth? What if he didn't go? What if his dad just went? Hypothetically. What if he did stay home? And he kind of heard secondhand. That's why he didn't really know like where the gun and or the knife and the phone, where they actually, dumped him. And when he got home, he said he was covered in mud and blood and said, "We just have fun." And then kind of told him the story. And another thing that threw Vito off was the red Jeep wasn't seen on the Hoosier Harvest Store video. I think that's an easy explanation. You come in from 300 towards near Ron Logan's home, just, the back roads through Flora, and go into the cemetery. And then when you leave the cemetery, you go back the same way. You wouldn't go in front of the camera at the Hoosier Harvest Store. But if your plan was to separate, like, hey, we're going to go down here to the kill spot. This is where we're going to commit this. And I think they filmed it. I think they did. They were doing something. They were creating a product, in my opinion, right? In this theory. There's money involved. There's promises of money. That's why it's happening in the middle of the day. And that's why it happened to Abby and Libby. They were targeted for a specific reason because they were able to get him into the trap that they had set for somebody. I don't think it was, I think they were trying to target folks probably since mid 2016. And it all just kind of fell into place for them. In this theory, you have TK down, this is when he still had his foot, down at the cemetery, never crossing the Hoosier Harvest Store video, hiking down to the actual crime scene, telling Richard Allen, well, part of our plan, I need you to kind of guide them down here, force them down here. So Anthony Shots the night before is like, hey, we're going to be on the south end of the bridge. Hurry up and meet us there. We'll be over there. So that's why Abby was so she she didn't want to cross that bridge, but Libby was like, "Hey, I want to meet this guy. I want to. He seems really nice. Well, let's go meet. He's over here. Do this for me. I can't go alone." So she's like, "Okay, just let me take my time." Like she's really struggling, right? Taking forever to cross this bridge. Libby's running back and forth. She's like, I can cross this thing, no problem. That's why she's already on the south side, and Abby's on the bridge because she's kind of struggling. And she's like, "Don't leave me up here. I'm not. This is my first time. I'm not used to this. I'm really scared up here. I'm doing this for you. I don't want you to be alone while you meet this guy." And then when you got here comes Richard Allen, they're like, "Oh shit, we've been set up." And he's got a gun too. Like, "Oh, I realize what is happening now." Cheek says, and there is no way to verify who was on the phone at the time. For all we know, it could have been anyone else in his residence or who had access to that phone. Yeah, I think somebody knows what happened. Somebody, if it has to be that's the only other option. Because Vito is telling us this is factual information that phone is moving. Somebody is actively using Keegan Klein's personal phone at that address, at his home. It's not like it's just sitting there. And if it's not Keegan Klein, that means that it is somebody else. Who is this person? Good to see you, Shane. There is no way to verify. Nope, not at all. Sorry. Already read that one. Stephanie, what's up? Dark Side, how you doing? Wonder if they ever worked somewhere together. Well, from my understanding, people that are related to Kathy, I haven't spoken to them in a while. I'm sure if I reached out to them, they would talk to me, but they provided me a shit ton of information. They just can't, there's just no proof. They don't have photographs or anything. But they tell me during high school and just out of high school, they were all friends. They lived like right up the street from each other. They all hung out on 2nd Street. And it was right around that time that you have Richard Allen joining the military. He was in the military for about 10 years, been married to Kathy for the longest. He's been under her wing, right? And then, boom, his brother-in-law dies in a tragic motorcycle accident. His wife can't handle it. She begins kind of self-medicating, goes into a depression. They're traveling back and forth to Peru to take care of Kathy's mom because that's what her brother did before he passed away, was take care for her. They lived together. So now you have Richard Allen in Peru with the creator of the Anthony Shots account, the same guy who's Googling the Marathon gas station on February 13th and confessing to participating in the crime. The only thing keeping him off the hook is activity on his phone, lack of connecting him and Richard Allen, and the Hoosier Harvest Store camera. That's it. The trifecta. Oh, you're in Illinois. I'm sure you'll adjust. It'll be fine, hopefully. No one. Ain't nothing on KK Rock Solid. Nope. What's up, Rightfield? Steve Johnson, how you doing? I seen crime scene photo. No way one person done all this without SA. Well, another thing is the wounds are different. The pathologist at first thought, hey, I think 2 separate weapons did this. But also you can have one weapon that becomes damaged and starts to leave different markings. And you have both girls kind of look different. It's almost like two separate crime scenes. There's like two MOs there. Hey, wife Lilith, they wanted to make sure they couldn't connect them, hence missing phones, Xboxes, and computers, tablets. I just don't think there was a connection. I think that um, they were friends when they were young. They reunited, at the end of 2016, and there is nothing to connect. That's it. They got together. When they're together, they do bad things, and that's what they did. And everybody wants to be like, "Oh, little Ricky," but it was probably his idea. This dude was in the military. Looks can be deceiving. Sometimes it's good to be the little guy, hiding in plain sight. And that's probably what he used on Dan Doolin. Like, oh, little old me. That's what everybody else is saying about Richard Allen. Like, there's no way he could have done this. He could have. It was probably his idea to do it this way. I'm familiar with that location. TK would have been like me too. According to Bart, they went fishing down there, just under the bridge. So it could have been his idea. Hey, if we do it this way, you go to the cemetery, go down right here. This is my favorite spot. I hike down here all the time. Um, I'll bring them down off the bridge. Nobody will know. They'll be trapped right here down on this side of the bridge. It's basically shallow. There's this sand bridge here. We can just, it's basically an island. It's only 2 feet deep at the deepest point. I'll bring them right through the water to you guys. All they needed was two girls to say, okay, I'll meet you on the south end of the bridge. And we know through Keegan Klein's transcripts that Libby actually was fooled by the catfish profile. She was really thinking she was going to meet this guy. So meet me. This is what Richard Allen, this is all hypothetical, theoretical. Meet me at Marathon gas station. Keegan Klein Google's Marathon gas station. This is after they log in and log out into two burner phones. One goes to Tony Klein, we'll call him TK, and the other goes to Richard Allen. In one car, Richard Allen goes to his home, says, meet me at Marathon gas station. I'm going to go get my shit. TK and KK drive to the Marathon gas station. Here comes Richard Allen. He says, let's take the back road because he's going to be drinking, getting his liquid courage. That's probably where he purchased the alcohol. Smashes 3 beers real quick. While they're hanging out at the cemetery, they take the back roads, go around towards Packers plant, keep going until they can kind of come back around to 300 and near Ron Logan's home. Enter in the cemetery, heading east to west, not passing the Hoosier Harvest Store camera, pulling into the cemetery right around 12. They're at the cemetery alone. Nobody's in the cemetery. Nobody's walking around. They're all by themselves, parked there, talking about this plan on Snapchat. I mean, according to Vito, this really is potentially the Snapchat murders. They used it. If this is all true, they used Snapchat as a tool to kill Abby and Libby. They could have been sitting at the cemetery on Snapchat. This is what we'll do. As soon as we figure out what they're doing, I'll go park at the CPS building. I'll wait till they get on the bridge. I'll lay in wait. Like he said, I'll lay in wait. Here comes the girls going to the south end of the bridge. Their plan is working perfectly. I don't know, Dark Side. I don't know. What's up, Margaret Ann Ray? I have been thinking along those lines with the tip, and your theory makes sense to me. I always felt finding the tip was too good to be true. It's just weird, you know? Just one of those things. And that might be why it's hard to kind of accept because it's just a really strange story. But I mean, yeah, it's hard to ignore that it's the strangeness around it. Oh, look, a tip. Hey, here's the killer. Hey guys, the killer was here the whole time. My bad. Like what? That's crazy. Yeah, or that too. Wife Lilith. Or they panicked about the gun. I know that the bullet information was leaking out to the public. Hey, what's up, Julia? All right, guys, that's going to do it for this quick little live stream. Those are the things that I wanted to go over with. If you have anything to add to this, please leave me a comment. Yeah, dark side. If that's what they had to do, I mean, but the thing is, it's very risky. It's either that or nothing, and I think that happens more often than we think. But if they did break the law, that would be a travesty because that could get him out of jail on a technicality. All right, last one from Shane. Only thing that makes sense about the cleared tip is if it was destroyed because of Keegan's tentacles. Exactly, the FBI angle. It makes you that kind of feeds into the whole snuff theory, right? Like they have this powerful. They're creating a product for a powerful customer, and the FBI just cannot allow that to be disclosed to the public. You know, all behind the curtains in Wizard of Oz land or Land of Oz. They don't want to let us see what's behind the curtains. But Keegan Klein has been peeking back there. The bodies of Sandy Hook victims, like what, dude? That's sick. While you're looking up Abby and Libby's murder, you're like, oh, Delphi, DNA, listening to the voice over and over and over and over again. And then looking at Sandy Hook victims. There's something here, guys. There's something there. It's there to be found. Alrighty, guys, you take it easy. If you need to get a hold of me, sleuthintuition@gmail.com. Go check out sleuthintuition.com. And big shout out to all my members and all my donors. You guys rock. Thank you so much. All of you who subscribe to my channel, who hit the like button and share it, thank you guys. And we might be going live again here in about 2 hours. If I can make it, I'll let you know if anything changes. Take care.